I will move that House File 4550 be laid over for possible inclusion in a future bill. Representative Kozlowski, I believe you have an A2 author's amendment. Could you explain the amendment briefly?
Yes, thank you, Chair Hansen and members. The A2 author's amendment does the following aspects. It adds a co-facilitator of the task force, an expert in the field of industrial metallurgy. It also extends the task force by 6 months to give us a little more time. It adds developing a strategic roadmap for achieving domestic recovery of critical minerals to the duties of the task force to make sure that it's very actionable and tangible what comes out of it. And very important to myself and to the coalition is ensuring public input, especially communities, frontline communities and others are heard. And so make sure that there's at least one public meeting, an opportunity to gather comments. And then finally, it adds an expiration to the task force 1 year after the report is submitted, just in case there are reason as need to consult and tap the members of the task force.
I will move the A2 amendment to get the bill in the form the author would like. Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. The motion prevails. The A2 amendment is adopted. Representative Kozlowski, to your bill as amended.
Thank you, Chair and members, and for the opportunity to present House File 4550. This is a bill that will create a critical minerals recovery advisory task force that will help us ensure Minnesota leads the way in recycling the materials that we need to build a strong and clean future for all. I'm really proud to be able to address this important issue in a way that brings together a very diverse coalition of supporters. This is a particularly important topic in northern Minnesota and across the state. And so being able to bring together this coalition made up of unions, of U.S. steelworkers to environmental organizations like the Sierra Club and Conservation Minnesota, as well as groups like Mining Minnesota. We're all committed to building a circular economy here in Minnesota, and we need policies that ensure we are leading the way on recovering these minerals to build that thriving, clean future. And focusing on what we do with materials once they've been collected and diverted from the waste stream is the very first step to ensuring that strong circular economy. Too much of what is already being collected and recycled is exported to other states or even to other countries for recovery after the dismantling and shredding phase of processing. And that's especially true for materials containing critical minerals, which are most often processed internationally instead of right here at home. Critical minerals are essential to a clean energy future, particularly for energy storage batteries, EV batteries, wind and solar components. Elements and minerals such as lithium and cobalt, manganese, and carbon are essential for batteries. Other critical minerals such as nickel and zinc and silicone and aluminum are also essential for clean energy parts and products. And we should really be processing those minerals right here in Minnesota to keep them domestic and grow good paying jobs right in our communities. This is a really important issue right now and into the future. Mineral demand is expected to double by 2040 under current climate policy commitments, and according to the International Energy Agency, it could actually quadruple if the global deployments of EVs and renewable energy technologies ramp up in line with international commitments. So we need to build the recycling industry, and we need to get the job done. And that's why we need a critical minerals recovery advisory task force to get that plan going and to create that roadmap to our future. So this bill will help us attract those new industries and good paying jobs, safe jobs to communities around Minnesota, and will also contribute to our clean energy goals while protecting our air and water. We should create conditions needed to build Minnesota's clean energy here in Minnesota, and recycling these critical minerals can help us to create that resilient and localized supply chains that we know we desperately need, especially up in northern Minnesota and on the Iron Range. So HF4550 will put us on that path, and I hope to earn your support for this bill and along with our coalition. So next, I'd like to turn it over to our testifiers to share more.
First up, Patty O'Keefe, Sierra Club. Welcome.
Thank you. Dear members of the House Environment and Natural Resources Committee, my name is Patty O'Keefe. I am here on behalf of the Sierra Club North Star chapter, encouraging your support for House File 4550 to establish a task force dedicated to enhancing the recovery of critical minerals from end-life products. House File 4450 represents a significant step towards advancing sustainable materials management practices in our state. By establishing a dedicated task force and fostering collaboration amongst diverse stakeholders, this legislation has the potential to drive meaningful progress towards a more circular and resource-efficient economy. We appreciate the provision to engage stakeholders in meaningful consultation regarding recycling and end-of-life management options by fostering collaboration amongst environmental advocates, community members, industry representatives. This legislation promotes transparency and inclusivity in decision-making processes, ultimately contributing to the development of effective and equitable solutions. The North Star chapter also recognizes the importance of establishing the necessary infrastructure to support an integrated system for collecting, transporting, and recycling products containing critical minerals. By addressing these infrastructure gaps, we can streamline material recovery, thereby reducing waste and minimizing environmental impacts. Overall, this bill will set the process in motion to create new waste and recycling streams that will create jobs and reduce environmental harms, and also address environmental justice issues in communities that are affected by extraction. So really appreciate your consideration and would encourage your support of this bill today. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Paul Flaherty, Teamsters Local 120.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. My name is Paul Slattery, and I'm the Director of Politics and Organizing for the Teamsters Union Local 120. I'm here to speak in support of House File 4550. We represent 11,000 members across the states of Minnesota, North Dakota, South Dakota, and Iowa, including a recently organized group called Ridwell Recycling in St. Paul. Teamsters represent workers across the recycling supply chain, from collections, dismantling, and processing to organics waste. Teamsters are also industrial workers representing Gopher Resource in Eagan, Minnesota, processing lead batteries. However, we are missing the necessary domestic infrastructure to achieve a truly circular recycling model, and that is industry recovery infrastructure for critical materials like copper, lithium, palladium, and more. We need a high road operator who will care for the workers' health and safety while helping Minnesota achieve its clean energy and recycling goals. End-of-life products like electronics pile up in our houses, which could be harnessed to help us meet our clean energy goals. Ridwell collects recycling waste from individual residents like old phones, phone cords, screens, and other equipment that should not be thrown away. Worldwide, we generate around 40 million tons of electronic waste annually, and only 12.5% of e-waste is recycled. Ridwell takes pride in processing their materials domestically, and we want to help achieve a high-road domestic supply chain of recycled materials through and through. When we process and recover materials at home, we can have a greater impact on the labor and environmental standards operators are held to. We have the opportunity to create a truly circular economy in Minnesota, and Teamsters want to be part of that story. Thank you for the opportunity to testify in support of House File 4550 today.
Thank you. James Lehner, Conservation Minnesota. Welcome.
Good afternoon, Chair Hansen and members of the committee. For the record, my name is James Lehner. I'm the Policy Associate at Conservation Minnesota. We represent members from all 87 counties in advocating for policies that ensure clean water, land, and air for every Minnesotan. And today I'm here to speak in support of House File 4550 and the establishment of a Critical Materials Recovery Advisory Task Force. This bill would provide the Pollution Control Agency with another tool for managing the valuable materials currently lost in our waste stream and an opportunity to create a truly circular system that puts our waste to good use. You've undoubtedly heard a lot about Minnesota's trash and waste issues this session, from reducing single-use plastics to updating our electronic waste programs. Many of the facts that underlie those needs are relevant here, so I'll summarize. We're producing more waste than our system can manage. Our dependence on landfills and incinerators is environmentally damaging and unsustainable, and we're losing tons of valuable reusable materials in our waste stream every year. In the case of these designated critical materials, much of our electronic waste contains resources like lithium, cobalt, manganese, and zinc, which are necessary pieces to developing the wind, solar, and hydrogen technology we need to meet our clean energy goals. We currently rely heavily on the foreign extraction and importation of these minerals while sitting on a large reserve of these minerals in our waste stream. This presents us with an incredible opportunity to fuel our clean energy transition through a truly circular system where the minerals we recover are put back into production to build out our renewable energy system. We can do this in a way that creates more good jobs in Minnesota and brings us closer to meeting our larger environmental targets. Through the task force proposed in this legislation, we can begin to study the methods, technologies, and infrastructure we need to close the loop on this system and develop a robust Minnesotan economy of material recovery and technology development. For those reasons, we believe House File 4550 is a great step to developing modern solutions to our waste issues. It addresses problems in our waste stream, provides us with resources for our clean energy development, and enables us to implement better reuse plans for these critical materials. I'd like to thank Representative Kozlowski for authoring this bill, and I thank the committee for their time this afternoon.
Thank you. Bob Ryan, United Steelworkers Union. Welcome.
Good afternoon, Chair Hansen, members of the committee. I'm Bob Ryan with United Steelworkers, District 11. I'm the Rapid Response Coordinator for our district. I service 9 different states, and this is all the stuff that I work on. Representative Kozlowski, thank you for dropping this important bill. The Steelworkers Union thanks you for the committee's hard work this session to protect Minnesota's environment now and for the future generations. I'm here today in support of House File 4550, which would establish the Critical Minerals Recovery Task Force. This task force will create new jobs and opportunities for workers in the state and help us grow and sustain Minnesota's economy for years to come. Our union has long advocated for decreasing our reliance on foreign countries for materials crucial to our supply chains that we could recover, recycle, or process here in Minnesota and in the United States. In Minnesota alone, research found that there's over 266 million pounds of e-waste available for recycling every year, which would greatly decrease our country's reliance on foreign products if we were able to tap into that potential. It's essential to still mine, recover, and recycle the critical materials our country needs domestically. Currently, China and the Democratic Republic of the Congo are 2 of the biggest providers of critical materials in the world. But they also use unethical labor practices like forced and child labor to obtain these critical minerals. The United States has some of the best labor and environmental standards in the world, which should be looked at as a model for advancing this manufacturing. Thank you for your time today, and I support this bill.
Thank you. Tom Johnson, Minnesota Pollution Control Agency. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. For the record, my name is Tom Johnson, Government Relations Director for the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency. This is not the governor's bill, but want to express that the MPCA is supportive of this type of effort to pull in more critical minerals and to ensure we have the best information about how to pull those minerals out of our existing materials that we're using today. I want to thank Representative Kozlowski for meeting with the agency. In particular, want to appreciate from the amendment the extra 6 months that was added to ensure we have a quality task force and report coming to the legislature that will be actionable. The MBCA sees the need for recovering our critical minerals, and I won't belabor this, Mr. Chair, because I know the other testifiers did a great job of listing these off, but minimizing environmental impacts, providing the materials needed to meet the climate goals that the legislature has passed and that are in the climate action framework, as well as capturing valuable materials that would have been otherwise lost and increasing economic opportunity in the state. So thank you, Mr. Chair, for the opportunity to testify and appreciate the author bringing this bill forward. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience who'd like to testify for or against the bill? Anyone else in the audience? Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair Hansen and members of the committee. My name is Abby Hornberger. I'm the Minnesota Policy Organizer with the Blue Green Alliance. Thank you for hearing this bill today and for Representative Kozlowski for carrying the bill. As you all know, critical materials are essential to our clean energy transition. You have heard about the need for recovering these minerals and making sure that they stay out of our waste stream, and Minnesota is uniquely positioned to be an example of a truly circular economy if we invest in bringing recycling recovery infrastructure to the region. Establishing this task force would ensure that all stakeholders are brought along when developing a strategic roadmap for recovering these minerals. Bringing this infrastructure to Minnesota would create greater economic diversity and can provide high-road jobs for workers in local communities while helping us achieve our clean energy goals and our recycling goals. You have heard today from our broad coalition of environmental groups and labor supporters that agree that it makes sense to invest in recycling in Minnesota. Your packets have letters from groups like Conservation Minnesota, Fresh Energy, the Steelworkers, and also from Mining Minnesota and the Solid Waste Administrators Association. Additionally, BGA's fact sheet holds information on the new and emerging technologies that are being piloted to reduce emissions associated with recovery. Building a clean energy future means that ensuring critical minerals are processed domestically and obtained responsibly while supporting good-paying, family-sustaining jobs is essential. HF455 is the key to kickstarting a necessary conversation, and the work to achieve a circular economy in Minnesota will be realized. Thank you, Chair Hansen, for hearing this bill and for considering HF4550.
Is there anyone else in the audience who'd like to testify for or against the bill? Anyone else? We'll go to questions from members. Representative Scraba.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Representative. I think this is plays perfect into what's happening in northeastern Minnesota right now. We found helium in the ground up in Lake County. Helium is used to make computer chips. If we can get the gold, platinum, palladium, whatever the metals are used in chips from recycling, the President of the United States wants chips to be made in the United States. We have the helium here from Minnesota. We have this product here from Minnesota. We could easily manufacture chips in Minnesota based on all the pieces in the puzzle, and we could do it here in Minnesota. So I look forward to working with this group. Thank you.
Representative Liz Lagarde.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to thank you for bringing this forward and building a coalition of business, labor, and communities, everyone, all different organizations, because that's how we move the needle forward. And yes, we can do made right, made in Minnesota. Boom.
Representative Gilman.
All right. Thank you, Chair. So one quick question I have. The folks that were picked for the task force, has there been anybody that's contacted you in regards to feeling left out of the process of being on this task force?
Sure.
Kozlowski.
Chair Hansen and Representative Gilman, thanks for the question, and that's one thing that, in terms of the coalition being very thoughtful, and with the amendment, we actually added in, you'll see representative from Industrial Labor Union, from our affiliated labor folks, friends in building and construction trades, and then also making sure that we have folks that are involved in the end of life of products. We are also in communication with our tribal nations as well. Right now, there's one tribal representative, and as the representative for the MIAC, as a state rep, continuing to have those conversations. And I'll also hand it over to the testifier chair if that would be okay for them to add in.
Proceed.
Thank you, Representative Gilman, for that question. And the amendment was, part of it was to address some of that. And we've seen that, obviously, the operator who would own the infrastructure and operate it would have some influence on this task force. However, there's not any that currently operate in Minnesota, so that's why they were added as a non-voting member. But we've adapted this based on stakeholder feedback. Folks who think that their voice is important and should be included, we have done that.
Okay.
Representative Gilman.
Thank you. That's all I had.
Any other questions? Representative Kozlowski to close.
All right, well, thank you, Chair and members, again, for the great questions and for the opportunity to present House File 4550, which will, really build upon the work that we've done at the state legislature in being nation leading in advancing us towards our circular green economy. This bipartisan bill made up of this amazing diverse coalition is really dedicated to bringing this task force to life so that we can get that creative strategic roadmap for how we can reduce impacts on the environment, for how we can create and sustain good paying union jobs, all while moving us forward in ways that benefit our economy for both local, state, tribal, and really our nation. So just want to say thank you for the opportunity to be able to work together and ask for your support. I believe that with this bill, we can really take care of our families and our workers, as well as the planet and the communities that we all love and call home. So just miigwech and ask for your support in moving this forward in the omnibus bill.
I renew my motion that House File 4550 as amended be laid over for possible inclusion in a future bill. The bill is laid over.